Welcome to our expertise session. We're here today at Sapir HQ and we're going to be discussing outsourcing software development overseas. So today we're joined by Paul Bass from Core and Peter Holsworth from Odyssey, who will be discussing their experiences of having their development done overseas and subsequently bringing it back over to the UK. So Paul, unfortunately, you are only too familiar with the challenges that using overseas development can cause and the issues with that. Would you like to talk to us a bit more about your core platform and system and that journey, if you wouldn't mind, in your own words?
Yeah, so we've developed a piece of software for the construction industry, as you're aware. We thought there's lots of efficiencies to be gained, within the industry, the experience that we've got. So we thought, right, we'll develop a system, project management and commercial management piece of software that'll improve that live data, basically a cornerstone of information management for projects. So we thought, okay, where do we go? We spoke to our contacts, various people. We got recommended a developer based in York. Now that developer did outsource some of the work abroad, and that did bring some issues from that point with them going involved with you guys. And you've taken that one step further.
So what was your inspiration then to do this? Did you see the gap in the market and thought we could do this better through digital, because that is the way the world is going? Is that what was your inspiration?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I'm a practicing quantity surveyor, so I worked in the industry with a variety of clients. Whenever I've worked, it's the same issues of lots of inefficiency, lots of problems, lots of stuff that could have been actually mitigated if the data and if the people who are the decision makers actually had real-time information there. So yeah, we decided to create a platform that'd be, as I say, the cornerstone of information management on a project. The information that goes in is used in a variety of ways. The industry, construction industry, is generally quite archaic in terms of compared to other sectors in being brought up to speed with tech. So we thought, yeah, there's an opportunity to do that, and that's what we've done. As I say, we've created a system which is very powerful. As I say, we're pleased with what we've got, and it's there's definitely a real opportunity in the industry to drive efficiencies and make it beneficial for everyone involved.
Yeah, I mean, that's where we see most software products coming from. It's frustration within industry that people working in that industry, are exposed to, and they can see the opportunities, but they don't know how to go about developing the software side of it. So quite an interesting journey. Thank you, Paul. So moving over to you, Peter, you faced a similar sort of experience to Paul. Firstly, can you give us an overview of the Odyssey app and your inspiration for that and, the creation of it with, again, your overseas experience?
Yes, so the Odyssey app is a digital legacy platform where you can leave a digital footprint of who you are throughout the whole lifetime. And it shows the relationships, your circle, like through family and friends. And the family tree side of it allows you to import your profile that will contain all of your memories. Traditionally now you'll have a family tree that will consist of maybe a couple of bits, a few photos and bits of information. The more further back you go, but you don't really know about the person who they were. But with Odyssey, it'll obviously show a whole lifetime of memories. And the other side of that is that you can show the relationship that you had with the people and the memories that you create with the memories. So say me and you were brothers, I add you to my family tree, I bring all your memories in, but then I can record our journey together and our memories so that when my children, as to look back, they can see our relationship as well as that. And then there's time capsules that you can send forward thinking messages into the future. Our journey started in the development forums with an idea. I approached my local job centre with it about saying that I had the idea and they helped me put a business plan together. But I had no development background whatsoever. So I was relying on people referring me to, and then looking up on Google where to go. And then I started out in developer forums and then ended up out with a developer out in India. And that was through a middle person as well. Started developing the relationship with the developers themselves, but it was just full of pitfalls. When we started out, we were drawing diagrams on bits of paper, having conversations over the phone. It was just one catastrophe after another. And that was in part on our inexperience. And the second part was that the developer was obviously just delivering what we had specifically asked for. They weren't taking us through the process
Again, it's another interesting story, and I think the concept's really good because you don't look at anyone else's photos, do you? That they've taken of you, and it's very rare that you look at your own. And people used to print out pictures, didn't they, and put them in photo albums, and then they occasionally take them out and look at them. But nobody tends to do that anymore. So the sharing of images, I think, is lacking. I know you've got the likes of Facebook, but not everybody uses it, and not everybody puts all the pictures on it. So I think it's a good concept. So where did the inspiration come from then to start the conversation with the job centre about the app idea that you had?
So I suppose any idea starts with a thought. I'd lost my grandmother a number of years ago, and I had a really good relationship with her from Yorkshire. She was kind of the matriarch of the family. She was a very inspiring person to me. Basically, I asked Mum and Dad what she was like as a younger person, and they just gave me their memories of what they had. And same with my aunties and uncles, they could just only give me the memories of the person that they had. And I just wondered what it would be like to see who she was throughout her lifetime, the music that she liked, the memories that, that defined her, that made her who she was. And there's just nothing out there. There isn't anything that shows actually a person's true life. You get a snapshot, but there isn't something that records your whole life and shows the whole you, regardless of who you are socially or demographically. I just think you need the opportunity to be able to say, this is who I am and this was my life.
So it's really interesting to hear both sides of your stories about taking your idea and getting overseas development, whether you knew that at the time or not. So I'd like to take this opportunity to try and understand a bit more about the reasons why you chose overseas as opposed to local. We'll start with you, Peter.
Cost, pure and simple, came down to cost and on a budget. Wanted to prove the concept and build it. Yeah, it was cost, pure and simple.
Was it a one-off cost? Did they give you a fixed price at the start of the journey?
So it was a sort of a feature implementation, give them a brief outline of what we wanted the core product to be, and then obviously as we started working on it, we developed more features. They gave us the milestones and how much each milestone would cost until we got to the point where we were happy that we could prove what the concept was.
Was it clear? The instructions from the start. Did you know what you were going to get based on that brief that you sent them, or were you going into the unknown? I guess we
were literally going in with a blindfold on and kind of stumbling about. We'd had a conversation, and you get caught up in the excitement of it initially. You get kind of blinkered with the idea and the concept, and you can see it clear as day in your head. But putting it down on paper and getting that across, and especially across a language barrier and time barriers, you're constantly going uphill. It's a real problem.
So did you ever get to speak to the team that were developing the platform, or was it always done through digital communication channels?
What happened with us, we developed a relationship and we kind of checked the company, kind of checked some of the reviews, asked for a bit of a portfolio of some of the work, and then asked them to give us a quote on the initial start, and that's how it began. And then we built up a relationship, a fairly good one, but yeah, it was just full of technical difficulty.
How did you manage to communicate with them, those technical difficulties, after they developed what you wanted? Did you ever get to the point where you were comfortable knowing that what you sent them was going to be what was developed?
I think towards the back end, this was 18 moves down the line, where we were able to use software with building wireframes, building user stories, working on an agile system. That was then we felt more confident that what we were asking for would be delivered. But that's not what we had in the beginning. It was a million miles from it. We were asking for something verbally that was written down in a contractual agreement. It was kind of read back as we'd said it, but the actual end result wasn't, although it was in the literal sense, it wasn't actually in a working technical sense.
So you mentioned that you worked with a middleman. Was the communication go through that middle person, or was it directly to the development team?
Yeah, so that again was another learning curve. So there was an initial quote, and then the middle person added their percentage on, and then it came back to us. It was kind of like a game of Chinese whispers.
So would you say that's probably the biggest challenge then, the communication?
Communication, yeah. Take your time, make sure that you speak to people who know what you're doing, and take the time to plan it. It's easy to get carried away in the moment. And there's always the worry that somebody else is going to take the idea and develop the idea. So you rush when you don't need to, and it causes more problems in the long term. It causes you more time.
I would totally agree with that sentiment. I think the world is big enough to absorb more than one of the same idea, and I think it's very important to get it right first time rather than rushing and getting it wrong. It's sometimes better to arrive there second than it is first. Let somebody else warm the market up to the concept of the idea. Same question to you, Paul. Talk us through your experience and what was the biggest challenge of using a development team that weren't in this country or continent?
As I say, I was probably a slightly different story. We went with a developer based in England who actually then outsourced some of the work. So I think the majority of the front end was done in this country, and then the back end workings were outsourced. Probably the biggest challenge was how we actually procured it. Similar to what you said, you're in a bit of a rush to get it out there and to come up with it. And I think one thing that we've learned working with you guys is probably the importance of having a very clear specification. The original system was built off a lot of spreadsheets and a lot of screenshots and drawings and scans and saying, this is what we want. And to be fair, we got that. What we got back was a working, probably minimal viable product. It was exactly what we put on these sheets. What I think we were missing was the fluffy bits, if you like, around the edge, a bit of an arm around you saying, well, actually, we've developed a system before. Right, okay, well, we've done this system here. Have you thought about doing this? Have you thought about, with Core, for example, the integrated tour? It's stuff that we didn't write down, we didn't specify. We've had a chat with you, and it's, as I say, I think that was the key thing for me. That the biggest issues that we had were everything was literal. So it was, you've asked for this, and you've got that. And the system we've got today wouldn't be here if we hadn't been through that process. But I think, you get what you pay for.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the challenges, isn't it? Because you're paying for development time, you're not paying for a consultant to help you on that journey and actually specify what isn't going to work in that literal process. So what would you say is the biggest challenge then in that?
Probably communication, to be honest, in developing a system. It's a iterative process. It's not this is what we want, off you go, right, we'll build it. It's very much, okay, this is the idea that we've got, bit of consultation, learn from your experiences, take everything on board. Again, there was that tiered communication as well, where we were going to one person, they were passing that information on to abroad, and then there's language issues. It's not an efficient process, but as I said, by all means, it might be slightly bit more cheaper, but I think communication is probably the biggest issue.
So touching on that, then there's probably a lot of hidden costs in your own time trying to get this thing communicated. Although on the face of it, it might seem like a cost-effective solution, but the reality is it might not be, because unless you're measuring your time and the effort that you're having to put in, and the rest of the team as well, because it's not just you, is it, that's working on this. Ultimately, it stacks up against the original cost, doesn't it, that's hidden? Yeah,
I mean, it's certainly less efficient time-wise. A better way of doing it as well is, as I say, we came up with the idea. We put down what we thought we wanted and sent it over. I think the approach of actually having the developer send you back the specification actually shows a level of understanding from the developer's side. So again, what the journey we've been through with Sapir is, we want this. You saw the original product. You've obviously taken it, you've made it scalable, you've made it sort of versatile, all the new features that we've got. But a lot of that's come from you guys feeding it back to us, saying, we've listened to what you've said. This is what we're going to do. Is this what you want? Sometimes how you describe it isn't how you build it. I've learned that from working with the developers, that you might want something and you might think the best way to do it is a certain way, but you need it relayed to you, and sometimes other people's ideas are more efficient and effective than your own.
Yeah, and it is quite a challenging thing to create something that doesn't exist, because you've both experienced it, you've both had ideas, and you're not buying something off the shelf. The second time round, it is easier to base something on a creation that's already there, because you can tweak it, you know what's not going to work, and it's not a million miles away from where you want it to be. Albeit it's been a challenging exercise for you both. I think it's still been a valuable exercise in itself. But now I'd like to give you this opportunity to discuss in a bit more detail what the platform does. Sell me the dream. Sell me what your software does. Peter, please.
Odyssey is a digital legacy app. It allows you to create a lifetime of memories to pass on generationally. It helps you build positive connections throughout your life. It has multiple features to record a lifetime of memories.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years' time? This isn't on the question set either, but I'm curious.
Hopefully it's developed and it's a global brand and people are getting the most out of it. I hope they can, that it's enriching people's lives. That's what I want.
Good, I like it. Same question to you, Paul.
So Core is a single source of truth. It's a cornerstone of information management for construction projects. It is basically going to drive efficiencies, mitigate risks. It's going to provide clarity, certainty. It's basically going to make the whole construction process much more efficient and allow the decision makers on projects to see real lifetime data and make decisions there and then that are going to benefit the company.
Brilliant. And same question, where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
That's a good one. So I haven't really thought that far, to be honest. Maybe, yeah. I see the next sort of 6 months probably working with early adopters, getting that embedded within a couple of key organisations and seeing how that performs under the stresses of all the data, all the different environments, all the different inputs, and seeing how it performs. And then I see it going wider. We want to make a big impression on the Tees Valley, and then certainly nationally, and see where we go from there.
Good. So reflecting on your journey then, what would your one piece of advice be to somebody who's looking to invest in software?
I would probably say slow down. I would say spend the time thinking about it and getting it, sort of everything written down. Go to various people and have a chat with them and actually discuss the idea with your people, yourselves or whoever's going to be developing this software. Some of the stuff that's in the system now, that's getting people very excited. All this stuff that looks, great, has come as a matter of slowing down, working out, iterative process. What's your top 10 priorities for or features, and cutting the waste out and just focusing on the key. That's what, as I say, slow down would be the general advice.
Well, thanks for that. I mean, it does work. I mean, finding a partner that's got a lot of experience, that's worked in multiple industries, it stands to reason that we can recommend or suggest different ways of doing things because we've got that experience. So that's good. So thanks for that, Paul. Same question to you, Peter. What would be your one piece of advice to anyone looking to invest in software?
Take your time. You don't have to give away your whole idea. You can just talk to people and get as much information as you possibly can before you take that first step. Plan it, because it'll save you so much time and trouble. And there's people out there that are willing to help, and not just from a monetary business perspective, that really do want to help and believe in your idea and how you develop it.
It's hard though, isn't it, when you've got this nugget of an idea that you think, oh, this is it, this is the one, and it's all consuming, isn't it? You want it to happen now. Yeah, I suppose this is why you need people around you that maybe not so much don't share the same passion, but can hold you back a bit and go, right, let's have a think about this, let's do it properly, let's take our time, let's have a proper strategy in place and a proper plan, because then you're going to get to where you need to get to in the right way, rather than throwing everything at it and then going, oh, solid advice, so thank you for that. Okay. So although you've both not had the smoothest of journeys so far, Paul, what has been the biggest benefit to your business from the recent tech investment, would you say?
Like I've said before, the UK construction industry is behind the curve in terms of tech compared to all these other the other industries, manufacturing, etc. And the benefits that companies can have from using this software is amazing. As I say, you've got people out working on sites. The site diary is all automated. You can upload your photograph. You can put in any issues there. Early warnings, which is basically a risk on site, or any changes can be captured with a phone and uploaded. The benefit to the industry will be huge. And as I say, if people are finding a benefit from it, you know, Core will hopefully take off, and there's the benefit to us.
Good. And I foresee this being the case. You know, once you get the customers to start to use it, they'll feed back, and it'll be a self-fulfilling dream eventually.
No, that's it. Well, as I say, even the stuff like the high chart stuff that you've put in, you know, it just the visualization of being able to click and just see everything that's going on live. You've got people feeding in from sites all over the country, and it's automatically updating all the time. You know, you could be going to a site the day after, you could be in bed at 10 o'clock at night on your phone, looking, and you can see. You don't need to ring anyone. You've got all the data there and all the information there, and it's constantly being added to. So yeah, exciting.
Peter, you're obviously on a different journey. You're not quite at the place that Paul and Core are. What's going to be the benefits to the world, I guess, once your app gets onto people's phones rather as a day-to-day usable app?
Odyssey will change the way that we record memories and the way that we leave a footprint of who we are. I think it'll change significantly how people are remembered. Ultimately, through the data that it can collect, it'll be able to store so much data with regards to medical history, family history. With the data that you'll be able to collect on Odyssey, there's nothing to say that a future digital assistant or anything like that can't be built off the memories of the person.
I suppose you're going to be storing a huge amount of data in both systems, really. So these things tend to transform as you progress through the journey, and something else will crop up as a result of that, and you might spin out something else, or it might use the data for something else, and you'll likely go through another iteration of development and system improvements as you go.
I'd say, yeah. I mean, I think when you, like as you say, the more data you store, the more. That's part of the idea with Core. You know, you might be a company operating in a specific sector, or you know, or you might be looking at performance of jobs in a certain geographic location. But the more data you store, the more you can inform your future decisions. Certain jobs might be really profitable, and you might not even realise that. And the more data you put in the Core, the more you harness this information, you're going to be able to say, well, actually, we need to be focusing on that area with this client, because we, you know, again, the data's key, isn't it, to everything?
Oh, totally. I mean, you can then start to use machines to interrogate it and predict things that the human couldn't at that point. You know, it's massively important that you do capture it and use it at some point in the future. Excellent. So, final thoughts then. So, many businesses across the world, the Tees Valley probably in particular, have had to tighten the purse strings of late because of the pandemic that we've lived through. What would be your thoughts and advice to any aspiring business that's looking to invest in either a digital transformation project or developing their own platform for sale?
Yeah, don't be afraid to do it. It's been an amazing experience, although it's been a difficult one. It's been an incredible experience. There's a lot of talented people in the industry that will help you get from point A to point B. And mistakes do happen, but there are people out there that can help correct that and guide you further along your journey. But yeah, just be brave and take your time and just be confident in your products and just go for it.
Yep, thank you. Paul?
I'd probably second that. I think it's, you know, I've certainly enjoyed the journey that we've been on. If you're passionate about something and you think it's got legs, which, you know, we believe it has, then I think, yeah, go for it and have a go and enjoy it.
Yeah, good. So now we're going to be moving on to the fun part of the exercise, and I'm going to ask you some fun questions to the guys. So Paul, what was your first digital gadget?
I would say probably a Game Boy. I remember playing a Game Boy when I was younger, playing Pokemon. And then probably 17, 18, I had an iPad. I don't know if you remember the iPads that were like PDAs.
Oh,
Sort
yes.
of like I suppose a very basic version of an iPad. I got quite good at solitaire. Yeah.
So moving on to you, Peter, what was your first technical gadget?
An old Acorn. The old Acorn computer.
Oh yeah, wow.
Yeah, back in there. I used to like the texted adventure games, in the way you used to write, go left and go and pick up. And I used to like writing the books. You used to get the books with a code, spending hours doing it, and then you'd get halfway through the game and it'd give you an error line, and then you'd have to go back through and look forever. But yeah, that was my first gadget.
What do you believe has been the greatest digital innovation to date, and why?
I suppose you probably get the same response for everyone. It's probably the internet, I'd say.
Yeah, heard it a few times.
Internet, and then probably wireless technology. I think wireless is quite good. I think wireless is a big one for me.
Yeah.
Probably the microchip. Amazing when you think back 100 years to where we are now and where it came from and the innovation behind it. It's just transformed the world.
It blows my mind as well.
Yeah.
So if you could bring back one technical gadget, what would it be and why?
Probably my Walkman. When I was younger, quite into my music, sort of old tape, sort of quite like that side of it.
Did you have one of those fancy ones that auto turned the cassette over?
I didn't unfortunately. I remember looking in the Argos catalogue though.
Do you remember the VHS recorders?
Yeah.
We're in Wilkinson about 18 months ago and I've got a couple of girls and for some reason they had a block of VHS tapes and I commented that I hadn't seen them forever and the kids just didn't have a clue. And then when I tried to say I used to watch movies on them and stuff, they just couldn't get their head around it at all. So it just shows that in a short generation how quick we kind of discard technology that we kind of took for granted.
Totally. I remember having been with my parents in the front room, had like a special area just for videos and like this book like binder things, and I think that was all the fad back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, the book that used to open and stuff, the cases. Well, it's the same with cassettes and CDs. It's just becoming obsolete, aren't they?
Similar question then, how would you explain the internet to an alien?
It's just that it's a big library that's online that you can literally go in and take any book out that you want. Just any information, it's everything and everything, the good and the bad. It's just replaced the old encyclopedias, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
I was thinking about this, so I think probably the way I'd describe it would be the internet's like the ocean. You've got all this information in the ocean going about, you've got people all going about in the boats, putting stuff into the ocean, taking it out, and just a massive sea of, it can be great fun, lots of bits and pieces in there. Can be not so good, a few sharks in there, but that's how I sort of describe it to an alien.
Well, that was the most original one we've had for the internet, so thanks for that, Paul. And what's your most used app?
WhatsApp, definitely. Well, I suppose actually, myself is WhatsApp, and I do a bit of football coaching and play a lot of football as well, so there's a lot of arranging that goes on there. But probably on my phone, is when the kids get hold of it, probably TikTok. Do a lot of watching the videos on there, but as I say, that's not me.
Come on, who are you trying to kid here? Thanks for that, Paul.
So Teams at the minute. And YouTube. Yeah, YouTube probably. And probably Teams is second, and Zoom.
Well, thank you both. I've really enjoyed it. I hope you've both enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, good morning.
Excellent.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.
You can swivel on your chairs now. So similar to Paul and Peter, if you've got the basis of an idea that you'd like to create a piece of software for, but you don't know how to go about it, or if you've had a piece of software developed and it's not quite working how you expected, we've got over 14 years of experience designing, developing, and productizing solutions that do make money, so you are in safe hands.